What I've done to bring this painting to this stage is I have increased some of these darks in the waterfall, and I've increased some of the twigs. I've also mixed the yellow and the red together to create a yellow ochre type tone, which I've dry brushed on the tree trunk, the one that's laying across the river, the creek, and one that's vertical behind the girl. So that's basically all I have done, is just develop some more of the darks in this waterfall. Now I've also been assessing the work and deciding what needs to be done next in the next stage of the painting after this one. When I taught art, watercolors at Bunninyon Gallery, I taught oil paintings and pastels as well, but in my watercolor class, my watercolor students all had some gouache, or at the very least opaque white, in which case they could mix gouache, because if I was to continue in watercolor, I would introduce some opaque watercolor. I would do it to make the color Naples yellow, or I'd use Naples yellow from the tube. It's a slightly reddish yellow, and I would add some Naples yellow twigs and highlights onto those branches. I would like to swoosh the water through with long brush strokes underneath that branch that's laying over the water, which means I would need an opaque colour to come back over to overpaint in case I wasn't able to wash all of that continual strokes of water out. So I can see how opaque watercolour would work really well to improve this painting. Also, I would want some intense darks, which means I'd probably get that better by using Indian ink or one of the extremely black inks rather than just using watercolour, or to use a black gouache. So I would consider using either gouache or ink in the finishing stages of this painting. What I'm doing here, of course, is scratching out some of the dark marks, which will give the effect of water, sparkling, especially where you've got moving water from a waterfall. Now, the other thing that I could do, I could use watercolour pencil at this stage, but I'd be inclined to use ink or gouache if I was to continue with watercolour. I also have considered that a couple of rosellas, which are, if you don't know a rosella, but they're beautiful, bright red, green, blue. Usually you just see the flash of red as it flies through our rainforests. I wouldn't mind putting several crimson rosellas flying through this wonderful contrast to the green. It's not something that has to be done, but it's something I'd think about doing, in which case, again, it would be gouache, watercolour pencil, or pastels. Another thing that would work extremely well, and you do see in rainforest, is the rays of light. There's a lot of light coming into this scene, and yet we know that rainforests are usually very dense in the canopy, so there's every chance that the light is coming in through a break in the canopy, and you're likely to have rays of light extending through gaps, and that's what I'd like to put in. So I'm considering what medium I will work to do the final stages of this painting. At the moment, I'm having a love affair with pastels, so that would be my first choice. In the past, in my Bunninyon Gallery days, my students and I probably would have gone into a gouache to finish it off, or an ink. Any of those mediums would work really well, but I do believe it would improve by the subtle introduction of another medium at this point. So check out the next lesson and see where we go with it. But I'm enjoying this and I'm liking how it's proceeding. Thank you for watching, and do respect my copyright and don't share. The money that I earn from selling the art tutorials or from my Patreons, that will go into improving my art equipment and my particularly my video editing equipment, which will then benefit my students.